Hey vinyl community, welcome back to Mike's Vinyl Experience. Thank you so much for being with me here today. I appreciate each and every one of you so very much. Finally, today, I'm going to talk with you about, yes, 90125. Finally, the Analogue Productions Atlantic 75 release that's been out now for probably 3 weeks. We've been out of town a little bit, saw a couple of concerts, Santana being one of them. Had a great time, but finally getting to this iconic 1983, a really great album, rock fusion, whatever you want to call it, type of music. I just call it flat out really good music because it was in the early 80s, a time in life when music was such an important factor in my life. I love, yes, started back in 1969, I believe. This album is their 11th studio album. In 1980, they kind of fell apart. A lot of them went away. Rick Wakeman wasn't part of the band anymore. But they started a new group called Cinema in 1981, 1982. A few of the band members did, and that kind of got a lot of legal issue because there were some other groups apparently with the name of Cinema, and so they ultimately went back together after they got a lot of their people back, or at least not a lot of them, but some new people back. John Anderson came back as part of the group and did the vocals. Trevor Rabin was a new member of the band, and he brought a lot of the songs that he had. In fact, some of these songs he brought, Owner of a Lonely Heart, Changes, just to name a couple, that he brought to the mix with the new band. So anyway, it was kind of a new direction, more of a commercial, maybe, if you will, type of approach to their music, but ultimately ended up calling themselves Yes. The album title, 90125, came from, that was the catalog number that Atco Records gave them, gave the album that they were going to produce. They had some other names like the new Yes album, kind of like the 1971 album that came out, the Yes album. They didn't like that, so they just went with the catalog number 90125. Originally it was 90124, but because of some delays and whatnot, it ended up being 90125. Anyway, that's kind of how this album got a start. New direction for Yes, more popular, even commercial type music than what they had done mostly in the past, but it was to great success. When it came out in 1983 and even into 1984, of course, Owner of a Lonely Heart was a huge hit on the album. Personally, I like the album, I like the cut, but as far as Owner of a Lonely Heart, it's a good song, nowhere near my favorite on the album. There are so many great songs, in my opinion, on this album. Like I say, an iconic album from the early 80s, 1983, that just meant so much to me. Fun times, early life in college, just the memories that it creates. Listening to this album is just phenomenal. Well, go ahead and let's review Analogue Productions Atlantic 75 album, Yes, 90125. We'll compare it to original pressing. We'll even take a look at the CD as we get going into this, but briefly, we'll give a good review of the album and we'll go from there. In reviewing Analogue Productions Atlantic 75 series, I've done a few videos of albums that they have done, and everything up to this point, I just felt Analogue Productions has been doing a phenomenal job with these reissues, these high quality, high fidelity audiophile reissues of these albums. I've just found them to be absolutely wonderful. Now, I haven't purchased all of the Atlantic 75 series that Analogue Production is doing. I didn't subscribe to the series. I'm only purchasing the ones that I really truly like. There is some, however, that I have purchased on SACD, and I think in the very near future I'm going to be doing a video on those Analogue Productions Atlantic 75 SACDs that I have purchased. But really, I've just been so very impressed with Analogue Productions vinyl, the 45 RPM series, and I'll be honest with you, at first I wasn't really excited about the fact they were doing them on 45 RPM, but boy, after hearing just the ones that I have heard, and we're going to talk about this one here right now, but I tell you what I have heard, I have been so impressed. Man, they are just knocking it out of the park with quality. So let's jump into and review, yes, 90125 Atlantic 75 series with Analogue Productions. One thing that we have noted right from the start with all of these that they have done, and I can't remember the first album that I bought from them. Was it Foreigner? I can't remember for sure which of the first was the first series album that I bought. But one thing that I've noticed in reviewing their albums, their covers, these old style tip-on type gatefold jackets are absolutely stunning, absolutely incredible rendition to the original, and in most cases, well, in fact, in all cases that I have got, they're better than the originals as far as quality, colors. I mean, you can even see the color difference between the original 1983 and this new one. Let's take a look at the vinyl really quick and see what it looks like. Of course, these are 180 gram. This is side 2. Just impeccable quality. I did have one, and I can't remember the album that it was, but I did have one that was slightly warped. They immediately sent out a replacement and really quickly took care of it, so there was not an issue. But the quality of the album cover, the content, the vinyl itself has been nothing short of just flawless in my opinion, which really transfers to the sound that we hear. Now in this case, 90125, this was mastered by Kevin Gray at Coherent Audio, and this didn't come from the original master tape. It came from a 1/2-inch tape copy of the original analog master, and so that's what he was using as he did the remastering on this album. And boy, I got to tell you what, and I've got a list of songs that I want to share with you from the album, listening impressions like I've always tried to do, and tell you my thoughts as I listen to this album. As in most cases, I've listened to this album probably now 6 times in the past couple of weeks. That when I've had the opportunity and time to listen, I've just been listening intently, listening to the original pressing, even listening to the CD. And once again, I just really feel that Analogue Productions has done a phenomenal job. But let me get into the detail of the sound of this album. So as I talked a little bit about initially, as we know, these Atlantic 75 Analogue Production albums, they're all 45 RPM, which means that we have 2 albums and the songs generally 2 to 3 per side. So it takes a little bit of time to flip the record over and whatnot. And as I indicated before, I kind of initially was disappointed that they were doing 45 RPM, but I honestly can't complain about that at this point in time. After the ones that I have purchased, the sound quality has been absolutely impeccable. And really, this album, yes, 90125, is no different. You know, the original album was mastered by Bob Ludwig. So right from the very start, the album was done very well. It was recorded, it was mastered by top people at the time that it was recorded. And that's really why the original pressing sounded so good and still does today. My original pressing is indicated. I purchased it in 1983, and I've listened to this gosh, I've listened to this album a lot. I couldn't even begin to even guess. Through the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, it was probably on my turntable an awful lot. And even in recent years, I would probably pull this out 3, 4, or 5 times a year, just because the recording is very, very good, and the fact that it has absolutely wonderful, wonderful music on it. So in reviewing this Analogue Productions Atlantic 75 new repress, new release of this great classic album, I typically sit down and listen to it several times, and while doing so, I jot down notes on my sonic impressions as I get to, and I review and go back and forth between the original pressing that I have, even the CD, and kind of getting my impressions of those. And as I compare that to the new repress or the new remastering that Analogue Productions has done. And what I would like to do is share with you my notes from the Analogue Productions Atlantic 75 version of 90125, just kind of letting you know what I heard as I was listening to this album. The opening song on side 1, there's only 2 songs on side 1, Owner of a Lonely Heart. Probably one of Yes's biggest hits, not only on this album, but one of their biggest hits since their inception in 1969. It was a great big hit, a good hit, one of their most recognizable songs. Excellent dynamics, very good overall balance, very, very clean. And I think that's one of the things that the vinyl that we're getting, like I've told you a million times, and you're probably sick of hearing it, the vinyl is so quiet on these Analogue production albums. It really does make a huge difference in what we're hearing. I mean, you've really got to turn the volume up to hear any type of hiss with these vinyl. At least through my system, I just find them so darn quiet, very much more quiet than the original pressing is by a long shot. But anyway, Owner of a Lonely Heart, excellent overall balance, great dynamics, great detail, very clean and clear, very natural sounding. And I really believe that when I say natural sounding, I don't believe that there was any over-exaggeration top to bottom on anything. I think things were just really being presented, basically what was on that analog tape that Kevin Gray was using to remaster this album. Just great sounding song, Owner of a Lonely Heart. Moving on to Hold On, just another great song on the album. Excellent in detail, very nice detail on Rybin's guitar. Nice overall balance. Drums sound well balanced with the entire mix. No hint of over-exaggeration with any upper or lower frequencies. Very, very well balanced. Great sounding album. Running over onto side 2, It Can Happen. This is probably one of my favorite. Actually, side 2 and side 3 and side 4 are probably my favorite, has my favorite songs on the entire album. Not that side 1 is bad in any way, shape, or form, but side 2 I think has the best, and it starts with It Can Happen. This is just a fantastic song in my opinion. Excellent sonics on this track. Bass guitar and drums and percussion are simply outstanding. Excellent detail, and once again, very clean and natural sounding. Moving on to Changes, the second song on side 2. This is just another, to me, fantastic song. The intro to this track is quite classic. It's one of my favorite intros to a song. Excellent resolution. Drums are excellent with more extension on the bottom end rather than they are on the original pressing. The guitar solo sounds very clean and crisp. Moving over to side 3, Cinema. This is a great, great cut. It's all instrumental. There's no vocal on this cut. It just sounds fantastic. Excellent, excellent song. Great detail. Clean and just precise. The next song, there's 3 songs on side 3. The next song is Leave It. This is a fun song. Percussion is excellent with nice detail. Drums are extended with excellent weight. The last song on side 3, Our Song. Another excellent song with superb dynamics, great overall balance in detail. And once again, it's just a clean presentation that we're hearing. Sliding over to side 4, last side, 2 songs, City of Love. The bass guitar in this song has great impact, way more so than it is on the original pressing. It just sounds so more blended, more balanced with the music than it did with the original. It just sounds really, really good. Lead guitar sounds great as well. Moving over to Hearts, which is the last song on side 4, last song on the album. This is a great, great song. If you've not heard Hearts, you jump over to Spotify, Apple Music, wherever it is that you listen to music, and give this a listen if you're unfamiliar with the album. This is just a great song. And one of the things that this song requires you to do, and I recommend this highly, highly to enjoy this album to its fullest, in particular the Analogue Productions version, is crank it up. Absolutely crank it up. Micro detail. This song goes from micro detail to absolutely crescendo type of music, low to high. It just sounds absolutely phenomenal. Explosive percussions in the album, which is just unbelievable. This is a great cut. To me, this could easily be a demo cut. If you're demoing high, speakers, amplifiers, preamplifiers, that kind of thing, record players, cartridges, that kind of thing. Great demo track, at least in my opinion. Those are my thoughts on the songs on the Analogue Productions. Overall, a very great presentation, very natural sounding, but pure and clean and really with great detail is how I really would explain this album. So how does it compare to the original pressing and even the compact disc version of the album? Keep in mind, in 1983 and back when this was recorded, great people did great work back then. That's why we have such a great analog master of this album. Bob Ludwig doing the mastering at the time, and many others that made sure the album was put together very, very well and recorded well at that time. But to be honest with you, through my years and through my system, the sound comparisons are quite different. As good as the original pressing is, and even the compact disc actually sounds very, very nice, to be honest. But when comparing it to the Analogue Productions Atlantic 75 series reissue, it's a significant jump in quality. Very, very different dynamic-wise. It's just clean. It's absolutely properly well balanced. Dynamics from top to bottom are just extremely well done. Just given the new technology and the mastering techniques, in this case of Kevin Gray, at Coherent, we're just getting a much better product than we're used to, which I think is really, really neat. We're breathing new life into these 30, 40-year-old albums that from a time were just fantastic, but we're just breathing new life into them. And I think that's great. Not all reissues are always going to be better than the originals, but the ones that Analogue Productions are doing with this Atlantic 75 to this point, and the ones that I have purchased, they are just absolutely killing it. They're just doing a great job, and I am so grateful to have the opportunity and I guess a little bit of a budget to purchase these albums and revisit this great music in such an amazing way, with sonics that are just one step above what I've been used to. Packaging is just great. I can't recommend this album highly enough. They've done a great job. Yet another accomplishment from the Atlantic 75 series that I believe that they're doing. Excited for the rest of the Yes albums to come out. I know there's going to be one the 1st of June, the Yes album. Looking forward to that. Excited about the rest of them. I certainly will be purchasing them all, the Yes albums anyway. Anyway, thank you so much for watching today. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you have comments, please leave them in the comment section below. I love to hear from you. Let me know what you think of this Yes 90125. Appreciate hearing from you. If you like what you see, please go ahead and subscribe. Appreciate that as well. Thank you so much for watching today, and have a great day.